I really thought it was the end of Perks. I mean, and me. I mean, Dirk thought he lost his financial backers.
I'm glad if he lost them, especially after the chaos he created.
Look, you don't understand, though. He thought he lost his financial backers, but now he got all the backing he needs. I mean, it is so great. I mean, I still get to be rich and famous.
Yeah, right. You know, I know a little something about financing things, remember? You know, who would be foolish enough to back a risky venture like a television show?
Tim.
Tim.
If you don't believe it, go ask him yourself.
I bet I will. Tim, do I do a good job for you?
This is a trick question, right? Of course you do.
Yeah. Don't I always keep track of the cafe's finances and keep us at a profit, albeit ever so slightly?
Yeah, you do that. Hang on, is something wrong?
Yes.
I paid Kivahan, I paid Turner's, I've got payroll taken care of, I've got utilities taken care of. What am I missing?
Nothing. Tim, what I want to know is how could you become a financial backer of Perks without consulting me first?
That's no problem. I mean, just think about it. Cake Boss does all those things, all this exposure. It's a great deal, and the Lord gets even more.
At S&T Bank, we've got a new account for people with busy lives. It's called the Preferred Account, and it's full of everything you need and none of what you don't, like free anywhere ATM transactions. So you never have to make a special stop to save a fee. The Preferred Account at S&T Bank. It's your life. We just made it a little easier.
When I came to Bradley Physical Therapy, when I started, I knew it was going to be a long process, or I thought it would be, and I thought it would be something that I would dread 3 times a week. Oh my goodness, I don't know if I want to have to do that. But even after the first visit and the amazing help from all of the people, I found out that Bradley Physical Therapy was a place I wanted to be, not a place I had to be. And that made all the difference.
Senior Care Plaza is a family-owned, long-term care residence that provides a nurturing home and a high-quality care program. If your loved one can no longer care for themselves, it's time to think about Senior Care Plaza. We call it care. You'll call it home. If you've been looking for a high-quality, top-rated personal care home with your specific needs in mind, Senior Care Plaza in McKeesport, Pennsylvania may be for you. Senior Care Plaza.
Remember when paying attention to detail was important to building things that last? At Omega Home Improvements, we believe that your siding deserves that same attention to detail, so it too is built to last. We specialize in a foam back insulated panel that features 5 times the energy efficiency and is 4.5 feet longer than other panels used on homes today. We're Omega Home Improvements, doing it right from beginning to end.
Is there anything else you haven't told me about?
Abby, I have missed you so much, but now it'll be just like old times.
This is unbelievable. What have you done?
Listen, I had to hire somebody. I was shorthanded. Annie left, went back to college. Louie is working 2 jobs, going crazy, and you know how he is if he doesn't get enough sleep, how cranky he gets. She came home from vacation and just in the right place at the right time.
I went to the beach.
Don't you remember how much trouble she caused?
I don't think it was that much trouble.
Yes, she did. Listen, Tim, I looked at Sam's vacation as a gift from God.
Hang on, what do you mean?
Because it was God's gift to us to have her out of here. Seriously, first you back Perks and now you're hiring her back. What else aren't you telling me about?
Nothing. Listen. Just talk to Sam. It'll be okay. You know, I talked to her before I hired her. I laid down the law and I told her, and she's ready to be serious.
Okay.
Cheers.
All right.
Oh, there's Tim Murphy.
Guess we'll see.
Listen, just roll with it, okay? It'll always works out.
Yeah. Okay. It always works out. I'll try to be enthusiastic.
Yeah. It'll be fine. Listen, yeah, you just have to rise to the occasion. It'll be, just take the bull by the horns. She will be fine. I've given her the right words, the right time. It'll be fine. So just step up there and rise to the occasion.
All right. I'll try.
Okay?
All right.
You can do it. You know what? That's exactly why I hired you, because I knew that you can do it. I knew you would make it.
Really?
Yeah, really. Because whenever things go bad, you stand up and you look her right in the eye. You'll talk to Sam and you'll look her right in the eye and you'll work it all out and just say, I'm going to rise to the occasion.
All right.
Okay?
Rise to the occasion.
Good. Yeah, it'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Hopefully I won't go down with the ship.
Yeah, it's fine.
Oh, hey, I saw lots of ships at the beach.
Don't do that.
Oh, and I swam with the dolphins, too.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, but they look a little bit different with their uniforms on, though.
dolphins. Uniforms.
Yeah, see, Tim said if they ever come into the cafe that I can serve them any drink on the house.
Dolphins. Here.
Yes, isn't that exciting? I invited them. They are just so nice. Oh, well, I better get back to work because I promised Tim I wouldn't goof off. And you should probably get back to work, too, so you don't get Tim upset.
I have to say thank you to you. This whole cylinder thing, saving, working, catching these guys, catching the bad guys, the 13th commandment, thou shalt not get away with it. I mean, you got them.
I hadn't planned on doing that, Tim. It was a matter that I came in there, wanted to get some information, and here was this person from the Department of Energy, first of all. When I asked about what happened, he said, my staff said this. I didn't know anything about the problems before, but they really were saying before this company wasn't going to make it. And this fellow who actually had been part of venture capital companies before, and I said, but you're not allowed to change the law and make the taxpayers not get their money back. And he said, well, my lawyers advised me on that. And at that point I said, so what do you do for a living? You're supposed to be in charge here. You're supposed to do something. And I recognized at that point, when they changed it so the taxpayers are now second in getting paid back and the investors first, it's supposed to be the other way around, we're out of $535 million. I mean, think of the number of people who toiled, who worked, and that was the taxes they paid, and it's gone. So then we had the executives come back and people who I had actually talked to before and said, everything's fine. It was a couple months before. They said, plenty of money. We're all okay. To see how this deal went through, somebody wasn't telling the truth.
Is somebody going to end up paying for this in the long run, or is it just all gone?
Well, I think it would go this way. Ideally, the Attorney General's office would say the contract is null and void. All those investors go back behind the taxpayers. Taxpayers get the money first. But we're not hearing that from the Attorney General's office. So maybe private attorneys or someone else might sue on behalf of the taxpayers, but certainly we're trying as Congress. The question I asked the CEO and the CFO when they were before us in the hearing was, I just have one question. How are you going to pay it back, and are you going to pay it? How and how are you going to pay it back? They took the Fifth Amendment and wouldn't respond. But we're going to push for that.
Unbelievable. Well, I'm glad you're here, and forgive me for talking to you. I'm sure you're talking to people all the time, but I just, I'm a small business guy, okay? Gas prices, they stop my customers from coming in because they don't want to drive as much. They cost produce, milk, coffee beans, all cost more because of it. I'm hearing we've got all this oil here. Why can't we drill? Why can't we solve the problems with the economy? I've got 30 seconds before I've got to get back to work. So is there a quick answer?
Well, the issue is we could do a lot. If we drilled for oil and natural gas off our coast, Tim, there's about $8 trillion worth of economic development there. And the federal revenue that would come from that is a couple $1 trillion. So we could use that to pay for infrastructure. We could use that to invest in jobs. You don't have to raise taxes. You don't have to borrow from China. It is there. But the administration and the people have to be willing to do it. I don't want to keep buying from OPEC. We spend $129 billion a year buying oil from OPEC that some of those countries use to give to Al-Qaeda and the Taliban and build bombs to kill our soldiers. I don't want to do that anymore.
Well, we're also helping, we're letting China drill off of Cuba. I mean, we're not letting them, but I mean, they know there's oil there, and they're saying, hey, we're not going to be foolish like the Americans. We're going to go ahead and we're going to get the oil.
In international waters, they're doing that, and I like to think we ought to be doing it too, and not sitting back and let other people do this. We know we're going to need oil. You can't just say, well, we don't want to use oil or fossil fuels anymore. Well, you got to use it. But I'd much rather trust us to drill for it and have our jobs doing it than just to buy it from somewhere else. I've been to other countries where they drill. They don't have environmental laws like ours. They just figure they'll ship it to America, take our money, and you ought to see the beautiful palaces and buildings they build with our money. Well, we're sometimes pleased just to see a little motel open up somewhere. Or, think of your coffee. You mentioned the coffee. The coffee beans, they have to come over here by ship. That's fuel. You got to heat it up here. That's fuel. You got to wash the dishes. That's fuel. People have to work and make this stuff. It's more than, by the way, it's good coffee. Good. But all those things go into it. And as a small businessman, you understand that. On that micro level, you understand that.
Well, it hurts me. When you're talking about, not you, but when Congress is talking about, you got congressmen saying that $600,000 income is not enough for them, and it's like they don't have.
We don't make that much.
There's not. Yeah, I know, but there's not this sense of, what, I'm the everyday guy here. I'm just trying to take care of my family, send my kids to college, and do these kind of things. But with gas price, why can't we just drill? Why can't we just do these things that's going to help us and stop China from overrunning our country?
Well, we're fighting China on a number of fronts. We're fighting China also on the front, too, that what China also does is manipulates their currency, so they're always buying at a discount. Their yuan. So they can sell us things at 20 to 40% less, which means they can ship goods to China, manufacture them into products, send it back here, and make it cheaper and sell it cheaper than it costs a U.S. manufacturer just to buy the basic products for it. But also, if we're not using our raw materials and investing in our energy resources and creating jobs here, it's all a matter. You can't just keep buying and expect to grow. You have to have something to sell, and we've got products here. This is an incredibly rich resource. Now, we're lucky in places in the United States where there's so much natural gas on ground. It's a game changer for us in terms of jobs, but we have to make sure government's not getting in the way. Let's do it right. Let's do it clean. Let's follow the environment. We don't want to harm anybody, but for goodness sakes, let's do ours. That's our jobs.
The other thing that I'm confused, to be perfectly honest, is, you're a calm guy. You're a nice guy. You're Mr. Peacemaker. When I see Congress, I see
his place. Just small coffee, please.
Wait, small coffee? You always get the caramel mocha lead and I get the mocha light on a muffin. And are you cutting back? You have heart problems?
Nothing like that. I am cutting back, though, because there are some things that I want to do.
Oh, you mean like buy a new car or a big vacation?
No, nothing like that. See, I've started 20 for 20. It's this way that I can reach out around the world through my neighborhood and literally around the world. It's Cornerstone Television's new outreach program where 20 for 20 stands for $20 a month for 20 minutes. Basically, for $20 a month, if I skip a few muffins and a few scones every month, then what I can do is support 20 minutes of Cornerstone Television's broadcast day.
Well, no, they broadcast in my neighborhood, around the country, and around the world, right?
Yeah, well, my $20 is bringing the gospel to my neighborhood as well as around the world, but it's doing more than that. I'm feeding and clothing orphans. I'm also seeing families restored. And you know what? The other night, somebody called, and they were at the end of their rope. Somebody prayed for them. Their life was changed. I like to believe that that was my 20 minutes. That's worth skipping a few muffins a month.
Do you know that your morning cup of coffee can help clothe, feed, rescue, and care for the poorest of the poor? I know it may seem hard to believe, but it can happen. His Place and Kiva Han Coffee have joined forces to bring a special blend of coffee that will change the world. Hope Coffee is a direct trade coffee, which means that the families of the people who work hard on the coffee farms receive the funds directly from their harvest. In addition, the profits from Hope Coffee go to help rescue children in impoverished countries and bring the message of God's love to people all around the world. For a limited time, for your gift of $37, we'll send you as our thank you a His Place mug and a 12-ounce bag of Hope Coffee. Together, we're changing the world one life at a time through one cup of coffee at a time. Send your gift today.
Okay, things are going to be a lot different from here on out. You know what? Stand up straight and listen to me when I'm talking to you. Thank you. For some crazy reason, Tim has decided to have Sam back. He's also decided to put Perks back in production. However, this does not mean that we need to have the usual chaos we have in this diner. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, not even a little bit of chaos?
Sam, this means you will take the customer's orders. You will not sit there and fraternize with them. You will not chit-chat. Got it?
Got it.
Good girl. And Marcus, no more making new drinks. No more mixing it up with the customers or experimenting on the customers. You will serve them what they order from the menu. Do you read me?
Affirmative.
Excellent. Dismissed.
Did you turn like that?
Hey, it is so good to see you. I had so much fun on my vacation. I want to tell you all about it.
Well, I bet you were gone all summer after all.
And how are you? Usually, I know you usually come in here and get like a latte, but check it out. I've been making these new experiments with the steamachinos, you know what I mean? And I would love to whip up one for you, no charge.
Okay, as long as there's no cardamom.
Cardamom. I mean, martabom. Cardamom. I mean, I'm so over the cardamom. I don't even know how to say it. Like, check it out. I can't wait to get one for you, so I'll be right back.
Did you hear that I swam with the dolphins?
Really?
I do this marriage counseling, and with marriage counseling, I tell people, listen, if you're going to fight to solve the problem. Focus on the problem. Don't pick on each other. Do I need to come to Congress? And so, I mean, you're the psychologist. You can tell these guys this stuff.
Well, Tim, what happens is most people in Congress really are trying to do the right thing. What happens, however, is you've also got that's not what shows up on television or in the radio or in newspapers. Nobody wants to show that people are getting along. They want to show the fights. They want to show the insults. That's somehow people think that's news. Most of us really do get along and try and work well on things, but if people say outrageous things or insult each other, that gets on there. Now, that being said, however, it's also a system that's kind of developed this, well, not kind of, it has really developed this dysfunction of saying that the battle is the goal, and the goal is not the battle. It should be solving the problem. But there's been times when I've gone before my colleagues and said, all right, refocus, let's all calm down. Because we're really in this together as one nation, and it just is not right that people think that all we do is fight.
It's tough for me to explain to people, kids especially, that this isn't the way adults are supposed to react. But I also know if it bleeds, it leads. If there's a big fight, that's what the news is going to cover. But speaking about the news covering, the whole healthcare thing, as a pastor and as a Christian, I'm concerned that what's going to end up happening here is abortions are going to be paid for by federal monies. Hospitals or doctors that don't want to do those kind of things are going to be forced to do it. Are my fears just out in left field, or is this something we really need to be concerned about?
It's real. It's real that starting in August of 2012, the law will kick in. Only it's a strange law. Congress didn't pass this law, and supposedly executive order of the president blocked it, but that's not true. The Secretary of Health and Human Services, Secretary Sebelius, was given the authority to write rules and regulations. Along those lines, she's basically saying insurance companies have to have plans that include payments for abortion, sterilization, in vitro fertilization, several drugs, etc. And so hospitals or doctors, nurses who don't want to be involved with those things, if their hospital has to, we're worried, will be told you have to provide that. But if a business says, I don't want to buy insurance as paying for those things, the rule is going to be they've got to do it anyways or they're in violation of law. So what I worry about is that in some cases, some business will say, then you know what, I'm not going to do it. I'll give my employees some money, they can go find their own health care, or they'll get caught up in the government health care program, which is going to be very expensive. And all this because someone in the government says they know better than you, they know better than your employer, they know better than the people. And it's back, you can have any health care plan you want as long as it's theirs, and that's it. And that's really becoming a moral dilemma and an ethical dilemma for many people of faith. They said, this is not for me.
That would be a challenge for me as an employer. I mean, I think I'm avoiding that whole thing because I don't have that many employees, but it would be a challenge for me to say, I've got to buy insurance that is going to pay for abortions, going to pay for these type of things that I don't want to see. That if I have an employee going through that, I'll spend time with him or her that's dealing with it to try to convince them to adopt the child out. I'll help them in whatever way I can, financially or whatever, to avoid that at all costs. But I don't want to have to be forced. That goes totally against my beliefs as a Christian and my conscience, and I think that's a violation of really, in a weird way, church and state, because the state is dictating my beliefs.
Well, think of this too, that if you were to do a nationwide poll and ask people, do you think taxpayers should fund abortions? The vast majority of people would say no. I think the numbers are 65% saying no, maybe even higher than that. But this has gone around it and saying, okay, well, we won't make you pay for it through your tax money for abortions, we'll just make you buy it. And that's really troubling. In fact, if you do with government health care plan, it will cover those things too. And if people say, wait a minute, I told you I didn't want to have this done. And they've found a way. For example, we've also blocked funding for abortions in other countries. We're not going to pay for that. We're not going to use taxpayers' money, but it's a way around, and it's unfortunate.
Is it too late to stop this?
No, I don't think it's too late to stop it. I think it's one of those things where people need to use their voice. I mean, sometimes people think, just anybody going to listen? If I write my congressman, if I write my U.S. senator, will anybody listen? And I tell people, I never read the letter you don't write. So write it anyways. And use your voice, because the collective voice of America is pretty strong. I mean, it didn't stop the health care bill because people were in there, but it sure changed who was in Congress, and maybe it'll change other things too, but always use your voice. Don't ever sit back and give up, because our nation doesn't get better if you give up.
Do people really understand, does Congress really understand how frustrated the average person is with Congress right now?
I do. I mean, because I hear it. I mean, I get my email list every Monday morning, and there's a few compliments and a lot of people from the left and the right and the middle, upset about things. I mean, I know it, and I think those of us who have town hall meetings and telephone town hall meetings, you hear it. People are frustrated, but part of that frustration is too, people are frustrated in general. The jobless rate, the poverty rate, over 40 million Americans live in poverty. Can you imagine 4 people living on some of these low wages? And with people out of work for months, 3 years of college students coming through where they don't have jobs. A lot of them don't have jobs. Very, very frustrating, and it is a matter that I am, I'm deeply concerned, a lot of us are, but again, people need to speak up. We can't take care of every problem. One guy said to us, I don't feel very good about my country. What are you going to do?
Looks like the two of you haven't listened to a word I said. Sam, you're not supposed to be sitting with the customers. And Marcus, you're not supposed to be experimenting on the customers. You left a mess in the kitchen. Both of you are going to clean it up now.
Jeez. Just when I thought it was safe to come back and work in peace. Never a dull moment here.
Well, there's not going to be a dull moment now that Perks is going back into production.
Perks is filming again? Are you kidding?
No, I wish I was. Yeah, Tim resurrected it. Oh, no pun intended.
Really?
Yeah, unfortunately, him and his cronies decided they wanted to back
With
it.
everything
So
you're going through, with all the battles you face, and for me as small business owner in your district, pastor in your district, I want to know how I can pray for you, because I can't believe what you go through every day, and I want to be one of the people that's there saying, you know what, I'm praying for him.
I know you do that. I appreciate that. I saw someone the other day with a little wristband that said, God is big enough. And, a lot of us at the time think, well, he's got too much on his mind. He's not going to take care of me. But it really is big enough. And I think for this, it's really a matter of patience. I mean, I need a lot of patience to deal with this. Wisdom, I can't possibly come up with all those solutions for this. They're bigger. God's big enough. I'm not big enough. And I think that patience, but also giving the nation patience and always being optimistic and moving forward. My gosh, there's a lot we can do.
There's not a lot of optimism right now. I mean, they're like you mentioned, unemployment, and I know gas prices are coming down a bit, so that's a little bit of a relief. But just looking, I think majority of the people in the country, on both sides, Democrat and Republican, are looking and saying, you know what, where's the hope?
Well, I still believe, and I'm optimistic, because I know that even though we don't see banks lending money that's out there, employers want to grow. Employers want to do the right thing. I visit businesses all the time. They want to do this. They want to move forward. And it's almost like there's this enthusiasm that's bottled up behind this fence of saying, let us break free and be America again. Let's do what we do best. Use our entrepreneurship, use our energy, use our voice. I'm optimistic about that because I know it's out there.
Now, I may be of the minority. I don't have a problem with Wall Street. I think they're working to make money. I don't have a problem with the unions. I think they're working to try to protect people as best they can. I have a problem with Washington, D.C. And it's a real struggle for me to look and say, you know, I know you worked. I know you served in the military, but do these other people know what it's like to work for a living?
Well,
do they understand?
There's a lot of members of Congress who have never worked in the private sector. I mean, they've only worked in government jobs. And that's unfortunate. It's almost like you want to require them to say, you need to go out there and see what it's like for the private sector. I encourage them, go take tours of businesses, put on the uniform of the workers and do it for a day and see what that's like. And talk to the bosses too and say, how do they make ends meet? To get an understanding of that. But you can speak up too. And letting people know and having people understand there's a voice in that. But it is a matter that I think the more people speak up, the more we all do know. And you got to listen when people do.
So what are the key things that you see that we've got to fight through to get America back to a place of hope?
Well, I think that the things hanging over our heads are massive amounts of taxes and massive amounts of regulations. And that's all this noise out here that people say, Congress, work on those things. But it is really a matter of leadership too, to say for people to say, I don't want to be led around, but I want to see leaders who are strong. I want to see people who are going to stand up for me, but not stand for me. Don't tell me how to do it, but be there for those parts that I want. So it's a matter of stand up in elections and have a voice there too. But the other parts of hope is that, I mean, you kind of take an inventory of life. What do we have going for us as a nation, historically and currently? It's pretty massive. And I just think as time goes on, the voice of people like you will be loud enough to break through all that din and noise, everything else, and say, we want to be the best thing we can be, and that's being America.
Well, I've been in 94 countries around the world, and as bad as America is right now, it's still the greatest place in the world to live. And it's the greatest people in the world. And I know with people like you and others, there's going to be a difference. I just, to be honest, sometimes I feel bad because I don't feel like I pray for you guys enough. The good guys, the guys that are fighting, you know, that I know that are saying, you know what, I really know what my people are like. I really know what they're going through, and I want to stand for them.
Thank you.
So, appreciate it.
His place, his place, his place.
Well, I'm so glad that you tuned in. And hey, if you want to find out more about Congressman Tim Murphy, you can always go to our website, www.hisplace.tv, and we'll have a link there that you can find out all about him. On the next His Place, Kate and I get into a talk about what it is to be a Christian. Also, Congressman Murphy will be here with Chris Boyer, and Phil Andrews talks about perks and tries to take over. See you next time on His Place.